Okay, so now we move on to what is happening in that triad that makes the infection possible. Okay, so we have here the chain of infection, which is a series of events occurring, okay, that can render one infected, actually. Okay, so we have here the 6 parts of the chain. So we have here the infectious agent. So any microorganism that will now be acting as a pathogen. And from there will now enter a reservoir or will be in a reservoir. Okay, so later on in the next slide, you will see samples so that you can understand better who these are or what these are. Next would be the portal of exit. So anywhere that the reservoir can spit out or can bring out now the infectious agent. So for a human being, if that is the reservoir, any opening in that human being will be the portal of exit. And from there needs to be a mode of transmission or a manner in which the exit will be now possible for it to be transferred to another human being or to another host. However, before that could happen, it should penetrate the host through a portal of entry. So again, for a portal of entry, any opening again. In the case of a human being, any opening in the human being. From there, okay, if you are a susceptible human being, you are now a susceptible host. Hence, the pathogen can enter. Okay? And that is the infectious process occurring. And does it stop? Does it stop to the susceptible host or on the susceptible host? No. If you notice, the chain continues again. Okay? From the susceptible host, it then again transfers, it now again brings out the organism and will start again the chain of infection. Okay, so what is our role as healthcare providers? Very good. To stop now or to cut that chain. Any part that you see or that you see a chance where you can cut the chain, then cut the chain. Okay? So you'll understand that more if we now have some examples. So let's look at that chain of infection slide that now tackles the different examples. So if you will notice, ma'am, it's very elementary, the slide. Even the words like germs, the use of where germs live, that's not how we speak as nurses. However, this is an example of an infographic. An infographic is a material we use now for educating people that are not medically inclined. Okay? So, kasi nga naman, if you're not a nurse, you will not understand what a reservoir is, diba? And so on and so forth. So that for lay people to understand this infographic material, for them to be educated as well in the chain of infection, we now use the following words. Okay? But anyway, it's also for you to be easier understand. Okay? So let's start with the germs. We don't use that germs term, ha? Okay? However, it's again used there because it's an infographic material. So what do you call germs in the nursing profession or in the medical profession? Pathogens. Very good. We call them microorganisms. Okay. So what are the microorganisms not indicated there? So you have a lot, more than 3. Only bacteria, virus, and parasites are there. Who else or what else are the pathogens that we know of? Fungi. Very good. What else? May protozoa na ba dyan? Wala pa. Okay, so we have the protozoa, the amoeba, okay, and so on and so forth. But then again, the three kasi are the most common for lay people, for them to understand. Okay? But it's not limited to the three organisms there. And where the germs live is also termed as your reservoir. Okay? So it's where the organisms will be thriving. Okay? So that, if you will notice, it's not just people who are the reservoir there. Although, of course, it's the most famous people. Okay? Pero, we can also have reservoirs in animals. Give me a sickness or a disease wherein the reservoir is an animal. Rabies, very good. Okay? Dengue, very good. Animal ba siya? Okay, pwede na rin. Kasama na siya sa insects. Okay? Give me an example of a disease coming from food. Salmonella, very good. Cholera, more on water siya. Okay? Okay, any gastro-related pwede sa food. Okay? Soil, tetanus is the most common. Gas gangrene is another. Okay? What do you call that? Bulate. If you have parasites, di ba? Okay? Water, yun na yung na-mention natin. Cholera, what else? Typhoid. Okay, again, mga GI. And then, so we have there, for this reservoir to emit the microorganism, it has to move out using now a portal of exit. So as we have mentioned, any opening, kunyari tao siya, it's any opening. Okay, so from the mouth, okay, skin actually is not a portal of exit. However, if it is wounded or if it has a break in the continuity of the skin, then that could now be a portal of exit. Next would be, okay, how is it transmitted? So we have the most common, which are contact and droplets. Okay, so contact, if you have their skin to skin, okay, direct sexual contacts. Okay, droplets would now be via tawag doon, saliva. Those are examples. Okay, droplets that could be big or the nuclei, droplet nuclei. Okay, so you will be having more of that when we go through some of the diseases. And of course, if it gets out of the reservoir, for it to infect somebody, it needs to enter an opening again, which you call your portal of entry. Again, any opening. Again, in the skin, if there's a break, that is where that could now be a point of entry. Okay, and if you are a host that is weak or a susceptible host, then you now will be the next sick person or the next infected person. So can you define people who are susceptible? Because all of us are hosts, but not all are susceptible hosts. Yes. The very, very old. Okay. Pregnant women. Yes. Very, very young. Tama. That's the opposite of ages actually. The very, very young and the very, very old. Okay? Very good. Immunocompromised people. Give me an example of an immunocompromised person. Patients with HIV. Okay? Actually, not yet. Until they get to develop AIDS. Okay? Kasi nga, although their immunocompromise has started already, pero not until they develop it into a full-blown AIDS. Yes. Yes, very good. Undergoing chemotherapy. Because if you're not undergoing chemotherapy, you're not that immunocompromised. Although, you will now fall under people with comorbidities. If you have a sickness already and there is an infectious process invading your body, then that is an incident now of, again, a susceptibility. Okay? But when you are cancer patient na nga and then undergoing chemotherapy pa, you will fall under patients who are immunocompromised. Okay? Do you have anybody else? Pregnant? So we discussed already. Okay? Actually, anyone. Sino yung anyone na yan? Okay? Lahat actually. But in a way, what condition? Okay, in the National Nutrition Council's latest meeting, they now have a triple burden on nutrition. When we started kasi, we had single burden or the burden on nutrition, which is malnutrition, meaning the very, very payat, underweight, the small people like me. Okay? So, next naman nangyari, as the years went by, it became a double burden in nutrition. The double is now malnourished. Ang pangalawa niya ay overnourished. Very good. The obese. Okay? Now, the latest meeting we had noong June, it already is a triple burden. Guess what was the third burden? May malnourished, may overnourished, may ano kaya sa condition ninyo? It could be present in you. Actually, it is present in us. We're not underweight, we're not overweight, but we are on the third burden. Give me an example. You may not hit the proper words, but the condition. Any condition that will fall under this third burden. Sorry? Stressed. Okay, pwede na. Which causes this third burden. Pwede yan. Ano pa? Or is the cause why you are very stressed. Itong third burden na to. Exhaustion. Yes, you are exhausted because of this third burden. Ha? Depressed. Kaya kayo depressed because of this third burden. Sleep deprivation, it's because of this third burden. Lack of mental stability because of this third burden again. Lack of self-awareness because of this third burden again. Okay, yes, last. Well, very good. Okay, it's actually because of improper nutrition, which we call now the third burden as, ano na nga, micronutrient deficiency. Yan. Okay, why? Why do you think so? Do you have this? Yes ang sagot. Why? You are a Filipino na ang condition na ng ating lifestyle in terms of feeding is fast food na. Okay? Fast food generation na kayo. Sinong hindi nagpa-fast food dito? Kayo na. Ikaw na. Okay? So that, never advise people to stop going to fast food. Never advise Filipino. They will get mad at you. Diba? So how will you now address the micronutrient deficiency that we have? Proper diet. Kahit naman alam yung proper diet is the key. Do you do proper diet? No. Diba? Okay? Unang-una, don't tell them to stop eating fast food. I'm not saying encourage them more, but never ever say, do not go to McDo, stop going to Jollibee, and so on. Sabi ko sa inyo, you will not get their cooperation. But rather, sabihin nyo, okay lang pong mag-McDo, but you make sure you have vegetables. Yes. Kasi the micronutrients are from the vegetables. Of course, marami na dito hindi nagbe-vegetables. Raise your hand. Joke lang ha. Mukhang totoo naman. Proud. Okay. Actually, sa edad ninyo, maraming hindi nagbe-vegetables. But actually, that is a very big mistake that you are making. Your egg cells and your cells. Naintindihan? So that I'm not telling you to stop McDo, okay lang. As long as you make sure you still have your micronutrient source. And the best micronutrient source will now be Bear Brand. It's vegetables. Okay? So, for example, ma'am, talagang hindi po ako makakain ng gulay. At least you eat malunggay. Malunggay is one of the most complete vegetables there is. The fresh malunggay. Okay? So, ganun na lang. Pero kung hindi, the lesser evil will now be multivitamins para hindi kayo inaantok sa klase. At so that you can understand what is being discussed in the klase. Do you get that? Because if you have micronutrient parang ganito, may micronutrient deficiency ako, kaya hindi makapagsaltang mabuti. If you have micronutrient deficiency, all that you have guessed a while ago, that mental instability, the depression, the sadness, the sleepiness, the weakness, all of those are caused by a certain nutrient that is lacking in your body. And one of the most is iron, magnesium, yung mga ganon, which are, iron, okay lang kasi you get it from red meats. Matakaw naman kayo sa red meat. Pero potassium, magnesium, okay, that is making you happier sana, okay, are lacking in your diet. Naintindihan? Okay, so that you get to be the anyone there if you lack micronutrients. Okay, so next would be, sino ba itong mga nagdudulot ng masamang balita? They are called the carriers actually. Okay, so who are the carriers? So we have different, what do you call this? Categories or classes of carriers. Identify where the nurse, you as a nurse will fall under these 5 types of carriers. In the books or in the internet, iba-iba ang tawag sa kanila. But take a look at the description or the definition na lang. Okay? So first is the convalescent carrier. Okay? So the convalescent carrier is somebody who just got out from that certain infection. Okay? So anybody who came from a flu, yan. Wala naman, okay na, kaya nga ako dito na sa classroom eh. But you're still a carrier. Convalescent carrier ka na nga lang. Nawala na yung symptoms, the symptoms are gone, but still, the possible infectious process or infectious capability is there. Next would be the healthy carrier. It's a subclinical case where you remain well throughout the stage of infection and never develop symptoms. Okay, during the pandemic, who had a household who were almost all got infected except 1 or 2, ganon. Kayo ganon? Sinong hindi, merong isang hindi nag-infect? Okay, di ba? Lahat na infect, pero may isa or dalawang hindi na infect, sila na. Okay, but actually they were just healthy carriers. They had the infection, of course, because the exposure is, as long as you belong to one house, definitely. It's actually the source of the highest transmissibility in the homes. Okay? Unang-una, why is there highest transmissibility of the COVID at home? Unang-una, we don't realize na tatay ko naman nanay ko naman or kapatid ko naman Little did we know that it's still transmissible. Kahit nanay mo pa ba yan or asawa mo. Di ba? Comparing it to the office where we are more cautious. Di ba? We observe the protocols. Although marami talaga nagsisimula sa office. And then you bring at home. And then kakalat na sa home. Tapos may isa na naman from the home na lumipat or lumabas. Kinalat na naman niya wherever she went. Ganon. And then ganon. Okay? Pero ang highest transmissibility is in the home because in the first place, we're not that cautious because we believe kamag-anak naman, but sabi nga natin, even kamag-anak can transmit the disease. Okay? So you still need to observe proper protocols at home. Okay? So that healthy carrier ka lang as long as you had an exposure, especially if it's a respiratory illness. Okay? So for example, you have people now that have influenza in your homes. Please make sure you wear masks so that you will not spread the infection because you are, in a way, considered healthy carriers. Next would be active carriers. Of course, these are the ones with active infection, active symptoms, and of course, obviously, will now be able to pass it through contact. This is an example of a notorious carrier. Notorious carrier is not a category, ha? But she was defined to be a notorious carrier. Si Mary Malone, or who they call Typhoid Mary. She was an asymptomatic chronic carrier of Salmonella typhi. Okay? Ang history niya is she had Salmonella but was treated or was healed, kumbaga. However, so she was a cook. Okay, she was cooking for, I don't know kung ano, restaurant or something. But the thing is, their restaurant or their food establishment always produce infections. Okay? So, tinignan nila yung food, wala naman. Tinignan nila, of course, yung staff, and they found out that Mary was the one carrying now the Salmonella typhi. Okay? So, look what happened to her. She was placed in isolation in an island, and she died 23 years later in the isolation. How sad, di ba? Okay, but naman masyadong harsh. Actually, there is a kwento in between. The kwento in between was that, so she was already, what do you call that? Parang sinabihan that you are already a carrier, so you're no longer allowed or you're no longer capable of being a cook. So, umalis siya, hindi na siya naging cook. Hindi na siya pwedeng maging cook. Kasi nga, despite the treatment, nakakahawa pa rin siya. Yun. So, tumigil naman siyang mag-cook. The problem is, she changed identity. She changed her name, but did not change career. So, she still remained or applied to be a cook with a different name. So, hindi nga naman nila alam na siya si Salmonella Mary. Sorry. Typhoid Mary. Okay? So that she again infected. The same circulation, cycle. Nag-infect na naman siya. Nung inimbestigahan, nalaman na siya si Typhoid Mary. And hence now, yun yung rason why she was placed in isolation. Okay? And was not given freedom until the day she died. Okay? So sad. So what type of carrier was Mary? Active? Active, look at the definition. Passive, look at the definition. O, isa-isahin nyo para tumama kayo, di ba? Healthy, convalescent. Di ba? Kasi nga galing siya sa sakit. Yes, she got infected, she was treated, pero never nang natanggal sa kanya. Okay? Healthy kasi never na na-infect or never nag-show pala ng infection symptoms. Siya gumaling. Diba? So, yun. So, what are some important features of carriers? Important meaning this would now be our basis to consider if you know that somebody or you yourself is a carrier. So, the number of carriers may be far greater than the number of those who get sick. During the pandemic, mas marami po ang carriers kesa active infected patients. Okay? So, sabi nga natin, there were some people in your homes that weren't positive. I mean, hindi sila tinest or hindi sila nag-manifest ng symptoms, but they are carriers. Okay? Carriers are not, do not manifest. So, they and others are unaware that they can transmit the disease. So, not all carriers kasi manifest a certain symptom. So, that the tendency is that you can transmit disease. So, as a nurse, it's important that if you know that the infection or that you've encountered somebody with an infection, please consider yourself a carrier. Okay? And yun na, wear protective gear na so that you will not spread na the microorganism. Number 3, as carriers are not sick, they are not restricted. And therefore, they can disseminate the disease widely. Mpox, I hope he did not come up to Baguio during the weekend. Diba? Ang dami kasing umakyat ng weekend. Na-feel nyo ba? Na hindi gumalaw ang Baguio naka-traffic mode ang Baguio City because of a lot of tourists. And I hope nobody had Mpox that time or brought up Mpox. Okay? And also, that was the reason why the pandemic became global. It's because nga they didn't know that they were infected, they are carriers already, and then they traveled. Okay? And that just proves how poor the system of the Filipinos are, bakit kumalat despite our strict, di ba? We had a strict quarantine or strict travel protocols, at least for Baguio City. But why? How come that we still had infections all over the Philippines? Okay? Chronic carriers may produce repeated outbreaks over a considerable period of time. So you still remain persistently infective. You could be persistently infective, like in the case of Mary. Okay? So that, please make sure to correct yourself first before bringing out yourself to the community so that you will not infect further. Okay, so let's continue with Unit 1. Let's look into infectious diseases. So that infectious diseases are the diseases caused by any pathogen. So you know that the pathogens vary from the bacteria, virus, fungi, parasites, etc. And they could occur through various means. Okay, like through air, like example would be the influenza, water, cholera, via food, salmonella, or even direct contact. Example would be athlete's foot. So these three, tuberculosis, malaria, and HIV/AIDS, are the ones highlighted by the World Health Organization. It's because these are the top three infectious diseases that has uh, been predominant in the statistics for infectious diseases. So later on, you will see the statistics, how it affected now the, the globe. Okay. So key point, not all infectious diseases are contagious. So why is it not? Because we define now contagious diseases. So contagious diseases is a subset of infectious diseases easily spread now from one person to the other. So this spread still through direct contact, okay? Like your athlete's foot a while ago, your droplets, care of your influenza, or through air or your minute droplets or your nuclei, okay? Like the COVID virus before. Okay. So common cold is a common uh, sickness that is transmitted or that is transmitted via droplets. Okay, flu also, chickenpox. Okay. So key points, this requires specific preventive measures like isolation, masks, and hygiene practices so that the infection now could be controlled. Okay, another term distribution of diseases. So infections or diseases could now be categorized as sporadic. So when you say sporadic diseases, these are the ones that occur infrequently and irregularly within a population in a specific geographical area. So it's just a what do you call it? It is a, in a way, occurring one by one, distributed, uh, no pattern, no volume. Okay. However, it occurs. Okay, or you hear that a person or somebody gets to be infected or to be affected by the certain disease. Examples of this would be botulism. So botulism is caused by your Clostridium botulinum, a type of food poisoning where commonly it is acquired when you uh, uh, eat canned goods that are either with the agent already or an open canned good that will now be stored in the refrigerator. So that for you to avoid botulism, if ever you have a canned good that is unconsumed or half consumed, please make sure you transfer it and don't put the unconsumed area or part of the food in the can and then put it in the refrigerator. Okay. Other conditions that are sporadic would be cholera. Okay, so gas gangrene. A gas gangrene is a condition where it now enters by a very, very small skin opening or wound. You will not even see that there is a wound because that is how small the gas gangrene agent can penetrate. Okay, so usually you see that in farmers, okay, who now plow the field, get a very small, uh, what do you call this? Parang tibo lang or parang splinter, very small lang. They can just feel the prick, okay, but that's it. So they don't even consider that they got a wound because they're so used to having such. Okay, only to find out that what has entered via the splinter or that very small prick would now be an agent that can cause gas gangrene. And mind you, gas gangrene is an infection that is anaerobic, so that it spreads very fast and in a few days can claim the life of the patient. Plague also, okay. Although for now we haven't, but biblically, of course, it is evident. Tetanus also coming from the soil, from rust and entering your wound, okay, so that it occurs sporadically. But you will hear it occurring. Typhoid fever as well, okay, sporadic. Although in some instances, if the conditions of the other spread of disease will be satisfied, for example, typhoid fever spikes up in terms of number in a very short period of time, it gets to be called another spread of disease and no longer a sporadic disease for that time and for that place. Okay, so don't just make sure that you now define or you now look at the disease as per definition. Okay, sporadic diseases are often controlled through immunization, sanitary conditions, but can reemerge if public health programs are neglected. Okay, so example of an immunization for these sporadic diseases is tetanus. Okay, anti-tetanus shot is now given regularly actually for pregnant mothers and children, and or if for example you just got the wound, okay, on your adult during adulthood, you could now be given tetanus shots as well, so that the tetanus infection could now be stopped. Okay. So it's also a matter of public health programs following. Example of a public health program is in terms of dengue is the 4 o'clock habit that I have mentioned earlier. Okay, so the 4 o'clock habit now entails you getting out of your homes, looking for breeding sites of mosquitoes. So if there is a neglect, and probably there has been a neglect in some areas, hence there had been a spike already of the dengue. Okay, so another type of spread is epidemic. So epidemic diseases is a sudden increase in the number of cases of a disease in a specific region over a short period. Okay, so for example, the botulism or the botulism you have as a sporadic disease could now be an epidemic if the food poisoning is an outbreak. Okay, for example, in a picnic, okay, that affected now a lot of people for a short period of time. So that could be an epidemic. Okay, and can arise from endemic diseases. So later on, you will now have to differentiate what is endemic and what is epidemic, because an epidemic can arise from an endemic under certain conditions. Okay, so example of conditions that can change would be environmental factors or increased susceptibility of the population. So given now those changes, the endemic could now lead to an epidemic. Okay, so let's move on to an endemic. An endemic spread would now be a disease consistently present in a population or geographic area with fluctuating cases over time but never completely disappearing. So, for example, would be TB. Okay, in the Philippines, definitely you now encounter TB every day. You just don't know it, or you're just immune about, or you're just immune on it, because we have a lot of cases, or we have cases here in the Philippines that is nga an endemic, meaning it is present, okay, on among the population. It now is present, although not all, of course, but in a way closely you are exposed to the people who have. Plus, in terms of cases, it is fluctuating. At the same time, uh, it never disappears. Okay, so STIs, okay, like gonorrhea, syphilis. For now, HIV is included as an endemic, and I hope it doesn't get to be an epidemic. Okay, common cold, endemic. Okay, again, in terms of it be if in terms of a disease being an endemic or an epidemic, please just look at the definition. So, for example, chickenpox. Chickenpox during summertime, okay, could be an epidemic if it now reaches a high number and in a very short period of time. So the difference is that, for example, chickenpox could occur 100 cases in 1 year. That is an endemic. However, it gets to be an epidemic if, for example, you get that 100 in a day. Okay, oh, of course, it should be evaluated by an epidemiologist. However, that is more or less the occurrence. Why an endemic could be an epidemic. Okay, same is true with mumps. It is common during summer season with chickenpox, measles, sore eyes. Influenza, common cold, it's usually higher in cold weather. However, it's an endemic, meaning whole year round, a lot of people can get that. Okay. Incidence depends on factors like environment, population immunity, and pathogen virulence. Okay. So that I hope you can differentiate the different spreads of the disease. So other modern pandemics, okay, so as I mentioned a while ago, we will go back to the three infectious diseases. Collectively, HIV, AIDS, TB, malaria cause more than 300 million illnesses and more than 5 million deaths per year. Okay, so this is according to the WHO. And it's the infectious diseases responsible for approximately half the deaths that occur in developing countries. Imagine HIV, TB, malaria, infectious diseases. So if only we have stopped, diba, the spread of the infection, it couldn't have gone to 300 million illnesses and 5 million deaths. Okay, so as a healthcare provider, you have an edge of controlling or have a hand in a way disseminating information uh, for the mitigation also. Even if you just save one life, it has mitigated, diba, the statistic of these pandemics or this uh, the infections. Okay. So another concern is, or an FYI, which I know you already know, common modes of HIV transmission. So the most common, of course, is sexual contact. Okay, so you see there blue to blue, pink to pink, blue to pink. So it is an indication kasi that there are incidences of HIV transmission. I think it's even higher on MSM, men having sex with men. Okay, so it's higher in terms of probability. Okay, so men, although it also occurs women to women, and of course the women to men contact. So what's important is for you to disseminate, or for you to make sure when you have sexual contacts to get protected, to get protection. Okay, it also can be taken, or what do you call this? It could also be transferred via transfusion. Okay, so that although blood transfused will always be cross-matched, screened, there may be sometimes that the screening did not detect a certain condition or an infectious diseases, hence the transmission. Okay, so nurses are also not spared from there because we will be the one holding the blood. Although of course, as long as you don't have any contact with the blood, you're safe. So you have to be very careful in handling. Okay, more so take care if you have open wounds. Okay, because any splash of an infected blood to an open wound would render you susceptible. Okay. Contaminated needle as well. So when you say contaminated needle, it could now be a practice by drug addicts, and hence a common source of transmission or cause of transmission for drug users, where they used needles already, and only to find out that they just did not share just the needle and the syringe, but also the disease. Okay. Also, contaminated needles would also be a danger for us healthcare providers, because needle stick injuries would now be a common occurrence in the area, and we will never know that that's a common transmission site way also of HIV to a healthcare provider. Okay, unfortunately, there is also a perinatal transmission, so transplacental. So within the womb, there could already be an occurrence of the transmission, and during the delivery, okay, through an infected birth canal. Of course, as the baby passes through it, and there is blood that is coming in contact also with the baby, okay, chances are it can get to the baby as well. Also, as a result of ingestion of breast milk, so that it is advised that if you are HIV positive, more so an AIDS patient, not to breastfeed anymore. So that, ma'am, what about the health of the baby? there could be other alternatives. One is wet nursing, meaning we get a breastfeeding mother who can feed now the baby if the baby is still not, of course, proven to be HIV positive. Also, we can have breast milk from milk banks. So that is the source now of the food of the baby. Worst that could happen would now be feeding the baby with formula. Okay, but I hope because the baby needs more immune system strengthening, I hope the baby is prioritized to be given breast milk. Okay, so that is all for HIV transmission awareness. I know you know this already, however, it's just a reiteration of the since HIV is occurring and is increasing in number. Okay. Next slide is about illness prevention styles or types. So we have here the primary three or the first three: primary, secondary, and tertiary. So when say primary, these are measures aimed at a susceptible population or individual. So meaning you can or you are a suspected what they call this, you're a suspected host, meaning they see something in you that makes you predisposed to a certain condition. Okay, so the purpose of this for us to is to prevent now a disease from ever occurring. So the target population are still healthy individuals. So ma'am, why intervene? It's because, as we have mentioned, we would want sana to promote health, okay, and to prevent disease. So that a primary intervention would now be very effective or would be very useful for the mitigation of the uh, mitigation now of the disease transmission. Okay, so common activities, or not just the transmission but the disease acquiring. Common activities: limiting exposure or increasing now the immunity of individuals at risk to prevent a disease from progressing in a susceptible individual to subclinical disease. So examples, okay, so a typical example there would be immunization. Okay. Although don't get me wrong, there are some interventions that now are, what do you call this, that are good for, or that could be labeled as primary. It could also be the same intervention that could now be labeled as secondary or tertiary. Okay, so make sure to look into the definition of the level of what do you call this, level of prevention. Okay,